And welcome back, everybody, to this edition of the Mass Skill Podcast here with me, Charles Prodigy Richey, coming from you live here on Thursday, July 18th, as we are about a week away from training camp, just getting underway. As a matter of fact, great stuff to get into today. We're going to talk about the top play in Steeler history as we are counting down as we get closer to the kickoff of the NFL regular season, as we get ready to begin things here on the Mass Steel podcast right now. As a matter of fact, as we take a look at everything, remember it all kicks off on September the 5th, Thursday night game with the Packers visiting the Chicago Bears in Soldier Field. That's going to be the opener. And then, of course, as everyone remembers, the Steelers opening up on the road in New England against the New England Patriots. So much to get into as of right now as we take a look at everything. But right now, if you want, feel free to be part of the show and feel free to tweet your comments. I can be followed at Prodigy Richey. You can also check me out on Instagram as I stream live. That's Mass Steel Nation, as well as YouTube, Mass Steel Podcast. Want to get a shout out here to Villarreal. Thanks for joining right now. I just want to say thank you very much for tuning in. Make sure to hit up his place real quick. If you ever want to go catch a regular season game for Pittsburgh Steelers throughout the year, make sure to check out Durkin's Tavern. That's a local Steelers bar here in Chicago during the regular season. Shows all the Steelers games throughout the season. If you ever want to watch in here in the Windy City in Chicago on the north side, make sure to hit up Diversity and Halstead, Durkin's Tavern. That is the number one source to be. I just want to say thank you very much for joining me right there. Make sure to give this guy a plug real quick here. He associated with them, but we got a lot more to get in here as of right now as we take a look at everything going on. And, of course, as we look at things as right now, at this moment in time, as we take a look at it for this, we're also going to be getting into right now. Burt Lutton also has some news right now with the Steelers, as he can be followed on Twitter at Steelers PR Burt. Steelers will open all 15 training camp practices, 13 at St. Vincent College, one at Latrobe Memorial Stadium, one at Heinz Field, starting Friday, July 26th. Tickets are only required for the Friday night practice at Latrobe Memorial Stadium, August 2nd, and Family Fest at Heinz Field, August 4th. So definitely got some more stuff to get into right now as we also get into. Plus, as we get ready to wrap up here, on Fair or Foul, 18 game good schedule, good for all parties involved. I went into that on my last show that I usually do on Saturdays here in Chicago on CSR. It's called On Deck. You catch that show every Saturday from 1 to 2 p.m. So far, Executive Director DeMaurice Smith seems to be adamant about it. I can't say I blame him at this point in time. We'll talk about that. And plus, also, too, who was the better Super Bowl team, in your opinion, between the Super Bowl 40 and Super Bowl 43 team? I'd like to hear your thoughts as we continue to plug away here on this hot Thursday edition right here of the Mass Steel Podcast. Again, the number to be reached is 312-209-2232. Again, you can hit me up on the studio line, 312-209-2232. Of course, you can follow me, like I said, on Twitter, at Prodigy Richey. Check me out on Instagram, Men of Steel Nation. And, of course, my YouTube channel, Men of Steel Podcast. So let's get ready to hit it up and tear it down at this point in time as we get ready to move on. So, number one play in Steelers history. There's been a lot of famous ones, and this was written by David Doswell of Fansided. And we're taking a look at the top 20. As a matter of fact, And when you look at all these great ones, when you look at where they come from, I mean, you definitely got right up there. You got James Harrison in Super Bowl 43, returning all the way to the house when he looked at that one right there. And the Arizona Cardinals were driving for the go-ahead score from the 3-yard line. And then James Harrison stepped in from Kurt Warner's pass and was able to pick that up, run that in for a touchdown. And boy, he definitely got a little bit tired along the way. I'm not going to lie at that point in time. But that was the play that was right there, a huge momentum swing. Not momentum swing, but I think it was definitely a huge cushion that the Steelers bought themselves a little bit more breathing room to kind of keep the foot on the gas and the pedal to the metal. Because eventually they did go down for the first time in that game when you really looked at it. I mean, let's think about that for a second. I mean, that was definitely, I think, a huge play in that Super Bowl when you really look at things. I mean, at that point in time. I mean, let's break down some of the things that were going on right there. And I know it was definitely a lot of things that were happening, but I think in that Super Bowl, when you look at that highly contested game right there, as we found out, Steelers who did end up winning that game 27-23 in that game. And you think right there when Kurt Warner, who had his pass picked off by James Harrison, returned 100 yards to the house. I mean, everyone wants to talk about like the immaculate reception that happened in 1972, which I definitely feel like when looking back at it, that was definitely one of the number one plays, no doubt about it, I think, in the franchise history. I mean, we're going to get into it a little bit more, but I'd have to say, as of right now, if you're to put money on it, I still have to go with the immaculate reception. I mean, that was just such a huge game changer for the Steelers. That was their second time in the playoffs at that point in time. Never had playoff victory at that moment in time. This is also year number 4, too, a truck nose run with the Steelers when you think about things. I mean, and that was their first year in the playoffs. I mean, yes, they did go on to lose to the Miami Dolphins, who went on to have a perfect season. But, I mean, at that point in time, too, I mean, that did so much, I think, right there. When you traditionally had so many losing seasons, hardly any playoffs except one time, which was in 1947, that thing just meant so much, I think, right there at that point in time, where you definitely had to say, listen right there. I mean, this team right here, this is a team that's not going down easily. This is a team that's not going to be rolling over and playing dead anymore. We're not that same Steelers team that you may have thought we were for such a long time. I mean, really think about that for a second. I mean, that was definitely, I think, the biggest play right there. I'm going to have to go with that number one. I'm going to go a little bit reverse backwards here. I'm going to give you like my top 5 plays. I'm not sure about top 20, but then we also got some more plays on here. So, again, agree or disagree with me right now. Feel free to leave a comment in the feed here in the comments. Share your comments real quick. Definitely like to hear back from you. And again, if anyone's searching this page, you can find it at Men of Steel Nation. That's capital M, capital S. And you can also check out, too, like I said, Instagram and YouTube, Men of Steel Nation, Men of Steel Podcast, as we take a look at things right here. Also, another one, too, when you also look at this way, when you think about things, another play that really stood out as far as like in Steelers history, when we go down the list. So that was number 1 play, in my opinion. I think another one, too, when you also look at it, I think as far as like the top moments in Steelers history. How about let's also look at this one? I think you could definitely argue. How about Antoine Randall Wells throw to Hines Ward from a flea flicker that started off with Ben Roethlisberger, who definitely had a horrible game in the Super Bowl. I mean, earlier in that game, too, in Super Bowl 40, there was a lot of doubts. I still watch that thing, and I still hold my breath trying to convince myself that that was a touchdown or not. I got to be honest here with that one. When I saw that one, I could probably say from the higher angle, when you're looking at it from, like the stadium side, it looked like he probably got in. He was able to get a break. No doubt about it. But as far as also, too, when you really think about it, I really feel like that when you looked at that replay awfully close and watch how he was landing and the way that ball barely touched the chalk, I'm not going to lie to you, that was a huge play right there in itself for the Steelers right there, which enabled them at that point in time when you really tend to look at things, they were able to go up 7-3. And then later on, at the beginning of the second half, not too shortly after that, Willie Parker ran a big play for the touchdown at that point in time, who definitely had a big game in there when you really think about it. Willie Parker, who definitely had one of the fastest, the longest Super Bowl run in Super Bowl history at that point in time, aside from Marcus Allen. And you look at it, and right there, and it was definitely right there. But also, too, like I said, I say the immaculate reception is number one. I've had to go with Antoine Randall. Then I had to definitely go with Willie Parker. But also another one, too, if we're looking at things, how about right there, I have to say, how about if you're going to go as far as number 4, Santonio Holmes' Super Bowl catch. I think right there, that Super Bowl catch right there, that was allowed them to get the record-breaking Super Bowl victories right there in that game. You saw them finally separate from the 49ers and the Cowboys, too, as far as for most Vince Lombardi hardware. That was a thing right there. So you also got to look at it from this perspective in that decade. The Steelers not only retied for the most Super Bowls by winning Super Bowl 40, Jerome Bettis' final game, and just doing it in miraculous fashion, doing it as a road warrior team, winning all 4 games on the road in that playoffs. Pretty much that they won up since the Oakland Raiders, who did it back in 1980 for Super Bowl 15. It was a lot of things right there. You had to give them the perspective right there, and you really looked at it. And I really felt that with Super Bowl 40, and you looked at that play, like I said, I'm going with the immaculate reception. Then I'm going to go, as far as number 2, I'm going to go with the Antoine Randall Wells catch to to Hines Ward. Number 3, I'll go Willie Parker's long run. Number 4, Santonio Holmes' catch. And then I think you also have to look at, too, another one. I probably have to say the immaculate extension on Christmas, winning the division over the Baltimore Ravens. And I think that, I don't know about you, everyone else here that's watching, but I definitely feel like right there, when you look at, and I got some comments coming in here. I got Otis McCray here saying, love your show. Thank you very much, Otis. I want to say appreciate that. Thanks for tuning in, by the way. Pleasure having you on here. How the catch for Stallworth in the Super Bowl game against the Rams. Yeah, that's definitely another good one right there. I think that's definitely another huge one right there. Because let's not forget, too, Lynn Swann around that time, I think he got hurt around beginning of the second half or like the end of the first half right there. And John Stallworth at that point in time, he always seemed to be in the shadow of a guy like Lynn Swann. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was like they were the original twin wide receivers. I mean, they were like the original triplets when you really think about things. I mean, it was Terry Bradshaw and either Liz Swann or John Stallworth as wide receivers, and then Franco Harris. I mean, pretty much quadruplets, somebody I guess could say right there. I mean, that was definitely a big one, too. I'll give you one more, too, Lois, that you may want to remember, too. How about also, too, when we look at Super Bowl 10, Lynn Swann's leaping grab close to the sidelines where, remember, it was also documented that Lynn Swann took ballet lessons to help out with his flexibility. And look at what it did for him and how it paid off. I think that's definitely another good play right there. If you want to argue right there, I would definitely throw that one. I don't know about you, O's, but I think that one is another good one to add to the bucket list. I mean, at that point in time. Again, just for anyone tuning in over here, like I said, I could usually catch during the regular season mainly on a consistent basis, Mondays and Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm usually broadcasting out of Chicago. That's why. So 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's the time of the show usually. Just like I said, during the off season, including the summertime right now, it's a little bit more sometimes Mondays and Wednesdays. If I'm not here on the Wednesday, I'll fill in on the Thursday. So I just want to apologize to anybody if you saw any inconsistency from me as far as that regard. But just thank you very much for tuning in and checking out the show. Definitely love the thoughts, the feedback, the comments. I just want to say thank you once again to a guy like Chucky Okobi who came on the show a couple days ago. Fun stuff talking with him. Definitely love to have more guests coming up in the near future as we look at it, as we look at things at this point in time. But yeah, as we think about a lot of things. But yeah, let's keep the stuff rolling in here as we look at things for right now. Also, too, let's get into right now. Let's go ahead and jump right into fair or foul. So basically, I'm going to recap my top 5 moments in Steelers history. I'm going with the Immaculate Reception. That's going to clearly be number one. I don't think anything could definitely out top that one as the number one moment in Steelers history because, like I said, it was the biggest stamp that was put down and just made everyone realize that the Steelers, they're no longer this lovable loser franchise that's been getting their butts handed to them a lot of times. And let's not forget, too, that was also still a time when the Cleveland Browns were still doing good. They were like the original bullies to the Steelers in some ways, and the Steelers were just being like the redheaded stepchild for so long. I mean, when you really think about it, I mean, shoot. I mean, for the first 40 years of their franchise, they were the redheaded stepchild, just not getting taken really seriously, just definitely getting pushed around. And go from struggles. Remember, they also started off as an NFL franchise, too. I mean, if you want to make another argument, too, I would say this. How about this? Another Steelers moment in Steelers history. So let's recap. Immaculate Reception, number 1. Number 2 for me, I'm going to go with the flea flicker in Super Bowl 40 that started off with Ben Roethlisberger, handing off to Antoine Randall, and then reversing to make a beautiful long downfield pass to Hines Ward, who was able to Michael Jordan leapfrog it into the end zone to get the game-sealing and touchdown, which eventually propelled the Steelers to win Super Bowl 40, 21-10. Hines Ward is your Super Bowl MVP. They finally get the one for the fun. So that right there, like I said, that is number 2. Followed by number 3, I'm going with Fast Willie Parker, making a huge burst up the gut and towards the sideline, running in for a touchdown, Super Bowl record at that point in time. And then also you have, like I said, James, not James Harrison, but I forget who I had for number 4 already. Sorry, guys. But yeah, after number 4, at that point in time, let's see. I'm gonna go with just go with number 5. It'll come back to me. But I got like I said, Antonio Brown's immaculate extension for the Christmas game against the Baltimore Ravens to win the division. That was something that was definitely freaking huge right there. I mean, that was a point in time where the Steelers were not beating the Ravens since, I mean, when you really thought about things at that moment in time, the Ravens, who had definitely beaten the Steelers since the 2014 playoffs, where they knocked them out in the wild card round, and they got swept embarrassingly 2 games at home. I mean, the first one, that was with Michael Vick as backup quarterback when Ben Roethlisberger was hurt. But then also later on, too, you also had it where you also had, let's see, like in week 16, where they lost on the road. Probably figured they should be ramping up, getting closer to essentially a playoff berth. Ended up losing that one. And that was just not a craziest look right there, because they had to go a week later where they had to have right there, as far as like, well, when you look at things, they had to have the New York Jets lose the final week of the season. And then, of course, the Steelers beat the Browns, get in the playoffs. But as far as for number 4 Steelers moment in Steeler history, I'm definitely going with, like, before the immaculate reception, I'm going to have to go with James Harrison's long 100-yard interception for the touchdown, the pick 6 right there against Kurt Warner. Those are my top 5 right there as we take a look at things. All right. Now let's get into, like, to fair or foul here to wrap things up here on the Mass Steel podcast as we look at things. Sorry, guys, for the hesitation. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with me here. And let's get ready to close this out in grand style right now as we take a look at things. It's been a debate right now as far as like having an 18-game schedule. Is it good for all parties? Well, NFLPA Executive Director DeMaurice Smith was saying, if everybody wants to make an 18-game proposal, we'll look at it. I haven't seen anything that makes me think that would be good for the players. I definitely have to agree with that. I think that's definitely one thing you got to be a little bit very cautious of. It doesn't feel like right now, when you're trying to look out for players' health and safety, I'm not really sure if I'm buying an 18-game schedule is going to necessarily be like your solution there. I think you definitely got a lot of flaws right there. I mean, how is adding more games? Not just adding more games, but you're also, too, when you're doing that, you're also mandating, too, that these guys play a mandatory 16 games. I mean, which is really right there. I mean, 16 games being played, but then you have to sit out at least 2 games. So, I mean, that's just the whole point. I thought the biggest thing, a lot of things you're looking out for, I mean, what's going to be the compensation, the reward at the end? More guaranteed health insurance, better pension when these guys retire? Because like one player was saying on the Rich Eisen show is that you got to remember too, or no, not the Rich Eisen show, it was TJ Houshmandzadeh, excuse me. He was on talking with Chris Broussard of Fox Sports Radio, and usually the odd couple, Chris Broussard usually hosts along Rob Parker, but Rob Parker wasn't on this one. But Chris Broussard was hearing from TJ Houshmandzadeh and saying, yeah, remember, the thing is, too, when these guys are out of the league, it's like the first 10 years, you're pretty much okay. It's like once you start hitting like 45 and start approaching your 50 and your mid-50s, from that point, that's usually when the time is the outcry starts to come for, where are my benefits? Where's my protection? Where's my my sense of security that you guys are taking care of me as a player who's given myself to this league? And that's why I think it's just sad at times. I mean, listen, as a fan, I don't mind extra games. I mean, they're trying to eliminate unnecessary games in the preseason, the NFL, where they just seem like they're a little bit more frustrated. But I mean, at the same time, too, I mean, what really can you say at this point in time other than just like adding more games? I'm not sure if that necessarily makes any sense, but I will say for now, you also got to look at right now at this point in time is that let's think about things. Let's just look at things from where you're going to take care of these guys in the long run, as far as like beyond the game of football. That's the biggest thing that needs to be addressed. That cannot be overlooked. That cannot be ignored. And I definitely feel right now that you have to get that resolved. And you come to a solution right there in that, yeah, that I'll definitely say we'll see. But as of right now, I'm not too kind and for that at this moment in time. I think you have to show high risk, high reward, and that you're looking out for like the player versus the bottom line. And that's just where I feel like it tends to get like a little bit saddening at times. Also, too, so let's close it out right now. Close out with a bang, fellas. Who do you think was a better Super Bowl team between these two in recent memory in the last 15 years? The 2005 Super Bowl 40 team that had the 4-game winning streak to close out the regular season and then won 4 games on the road in the playoffs to win Super Bowl 40, the one for the fun when you look at it? Or would you say the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2008, who won Super Bowl 43, the record-breaking 6th Super Bowl, where defense was so dominant, number one in points defense right there, and scoring defense, number one as far. I mean, when you look at the overall breakdown of this. I mean, let's look at like some of the stuff. I mean, the defense definitely was a clear sweeping headline of this. I mean, if you ask me. But like I said, let's go down the line real quick in here. Check this out. Total defense, number one. I mean, for the 2008 squad. The 2005 wildcard team was ranked 4th overall. Okay? Plus, that Steelers passing defense, number one for 2008 versus 05, ranked 16th in the league. Gave up 156.9 points per game versus the 05 team, 198 points per game. Definitely had a better rushing defense than the 05 team overall. And then another thing when you look at it too, I mean, when you look as far as like takeaways in between these two teams, when you really think of things, the 05 team edged out the 08 Steelers team with 30 total takeaways. However, the 2008 team had more interceptions, so they had 20 to 15 more interceptions. But the biggest difference from the 05 team was that they had a lot more fumbles recovered. And that's one thing I think I've been noticing a constant theme a lot of times with the Steelers too, with this thing. Yeah. But like I said, I got O's right here saying right now 4 on the road, that harder. Yeah, I mean, true, that's harder. I mean, especially when you also had to go against Peyton Manning and stuff. But I think it's what I'm trying to say. Oh, it's true. I'm looking for more like a dominating and a convincing like team. Like really put yourself as a stamp on a Super Bowl team. I know the offense wasn't really necessarily all that flattering, but I definitely believe too, like the 08 team, for some reason, it was definitely more self-starters than usual before. And they were definitely knew how to get the job done. They knew the task at hand, and they were more mentally prepared. And plus, too, when you look at it, too, I mean, the biggest thing, also, let's take a look, one of the biggest differences, too, between those two teams. I think the only thing right here that I will give the 05 team better edge in, too, is like their turnover ratio. They have +7 turnover ratio. The 08 team had a +4. But like I said, I think it was definitely a lot more guys that were ready. I mean, that was Bill Cowher's team right there. Of course, that he built up. I mean, he started rebuilding like his team towards the end of the late '90s, low by low after Rob Woodson left via free agency. Then eventually he had to part ways with Greg Lloyd, pretty much like about after the '97 season. So within a span of a year, you lost like two guys eventually. Greg Lloyd, who actually finished his career with the Panthers, but like I said, that's around the time when Bill Cowher had to build up his team. And the biggest reason why the '05 team, in some people's minds, were, I would say, it's probably edged out the '08 team, probably because it was more Cowher's team. And that's the only thing I could come up with at this point in time, I would say. But I just think '08 was just more impressive, just simply because they had more home field advantage. I mean, the only thing is they technically weren't the number one seed in the AFC, unfortunately. They lost that head-to-head matchup against the Tennessee Titans, but thanks to the Ravens upsetting the Tennessee Titans on the road, that was definitely a huge favor for the Steelers in those playoffs. Don't get me wrong, playing the Ravens in the playoffs ain't no walk in the park. Let's not kid ourselves. But I definitely feel like the Steelers right there in that game, he definitely had more stuff to prove at that point in time. Alrighty. Well, definitely, we're going to close things out right now. I just want to say thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in on the Metal Steel Podcast. As you can always catch me here every Mondays and Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can always catch me streaming live on YouTube, Metal Steel Podcast, as well as on YouTube, as on Instagram, Metal Steel Nation. And then you can also check me out, like I said, on Facebook Live right there. So that is right there. You can check me out on Facebook Live at Metal Steel Nation. So as always, leave it. Don't be trolling, be rolling. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Hi, gone.